Okay, so let's follow up on yesterday's video and actually compile and set up a cmangos WoW Classic server from scratch, but this time on a Linux system. Let's use a Debian distribution and set up a proper server. So this is actually not a virtual machine, this is real hardware. This is a home server that I built a little over a year ago. I'll pin a picture somewhere during this dialogue. I'm running a Xeon E5 2680 and 32 gigabytes of memory, and it's running Debian 12, so kind of perfect system to build a server on, right? Especially a WoW server. So let's get this started. Let's first make a service account that we're going to run the server from. I'm not going to do this with my login credentials. So let's add user. Let's actually get the commands for add user. Okay, so we're going to switch that up a bit and actually just create a regular account for now. So let's keep it same nomenclature, so that's service account 1 cmangos. And we don't really need to add anything here. We can add whatever kind of password we want for now. Let's keep it simple. And we're going to cruise through these. And we can see that this profile actually does exist now. We're getting the permission to deny because we're not logged in there, so let's actually do that. Now we are not going to set this account up to be able to sign in remotely because there's no point. I already have one access point, which is my main administrative account. No one else is going to be doing actual Linux server management on my server, so no more configuration needed as far as this goes. We cannot type sudo, as you can see. We also can't sudo s. It's neither of which would do anything, even if I typed in credential that exists. I don't have any credentials set for root because I don't want to be able to sign in directly. For now, let's switch back over to our administrator account and let's install the dependencies for a cmangos server. So I have a list here on the install wiki. We're going to need administrative privileges for this, so we definitely already have grep. We probably already have some of this installed, but no need to check. That should be it. So we're probably going to get an error here about zlibc. Let's test this out. Okay. And so I was correct, and I think I also had a typo with binutils, plural. Okay, there we go. So 543 megabytes. Let's install this. The server is pretty quick, so this stuff goes pretty fast. You see there, I actually don't have my firewall rule set up to block internet traffic, which I usually do. I wouldn't be able to grab these packages if I had my restricted rules on. But okay, so that was pretty quick. So that's all the administrative tasks we need to do. So now we can actually hop back onto cmangos. We're going to make a directory called cmangos. Go in there. Now let's clone the two Git repositories that we're going to use to compile our code. And so this is going to be the source code for the binaries as well as the database files that we use to build the SQL database once we're done. And that's kind of what I was working on yesterday. So it goes through github.com, the user cmangos, and then the repository Mangosd Classic. And we're going to download that to a folder called Mangosd. So this will go pretty quickly, and then I can show you the directory structure once we're finished here. And we do have the classic DB repository to get, and I'll actually do that through an SSH address just to show you the nomenclature there. So it'll be git@github.com, and then the quote-unquote port will be cmangos, and we're going to /classicdb.git. Actually, I don't have I don't have my Git account set up for that on here. I don't have keys for this user, which I should have known, so we're just going to grab that through HTTPS. Again, this will go pretty quick. And then I could show you the directory structure here. Maybe that's not too obvious. We'll just, so within a folder called Mangosd, I have Mangosd Classic in a folder that's just called Mangosd. Yeah, we're not going to look through that. There are too many files in the source directory. You get the idea, though. Okay, now let's actually compile this. So we have all the components required. We don't need to restart the system. Now this is on a live system, so we do want to avoid any errors because we don't want to make a mess of a production environment. So let's actually make two directories for cmake. So we're gonna make build, we're gonna make run. Now let's go into build and perform our compile from here. Okay. So we can use cmake. Let's actually check our version. See what kind of argument it takes for that. Maybe just lowercase, maybe version, okay, 3.25.1. And boost doesn't come up with anything, so 3.25.1. Let's check maybe GCC version. 12.2. I'm told that GCC 12.2 is not supposed to compile this well, but I did test this on another Debian VM, and I'm assuming it'll be the same on actual hardware, but there's always a possibility that it won't compile well, because even if you built the project, it is it's hard to know. So we're pointing to the up one directory and then into the Mangosd directory, which is where the actual source code is for the server binaries that we're going to build here. And then we're going to use some arguments. So we're going to dcmake install prefix. And this is just going to tell cmake to start putting some of these binaries inside the run folder that we created, just to keep everything neat. Then we want to dpch equals 1. And again, I'm getting these arguments from an install guide. These are not my own instructions here. But this installs with something called pch mode. Don't need any debugging builds here. We want to build the player bot modules. We don't need to change our compiler, and that's it. We can build the binaries for the map extractor. Why don't we do that just to see that it works? But I've extracted my own maps long ago, so I will not be showcasing map extraction in this video. In fact, since it is a resource for pulling intellectual property, I really won't show it at all. But this should compile here, or this should configure compilations. Let's see. Okay, no errors. Build player bot. Let's see, I probably typoed that in there. Yeah, we want build player bots. So let's see if that affects compile configuration here. If we get no errors, then it most likely did not. Okay. So now we should be ready to make, and then we'll see if this compiles, and if it does, then we will have a set of binaries that can host a WoW server, but we won't quite have the server yet. Okay, we probably could have specified options to use all of my threads, but we did not. Looks like this is running pretty quick anyways. Definitely quicker than the virtual machine was running. Still, though, you can see this compilation is pretty resource intensive. And we can actually run neofetch here and see that our memory usage has gone way up. A few hundred megabytes, which again on a Linux system is not in a Linux system that has no graphical environment, a few hundred megabytes is a pretty significant increase, right? That means there's definitely some sort of activity going on the machine, which there is. Okay, so it took a while, but these binaries did build. It took like about 40 minutes. We got no errors. We got a couple warnings, but that's fine. Mostly boost warnings about some sort of deprecated command. Not my field. So let's actually check out what we got. We need to quote-unquote install these. Let's actually do that right now. This is going to place binaries that we built inside the run directory. Okay, and we're done. So what do we have? We have the etc. directory where configuration files tend to go. And then we have the actual binary directory. And this is where we have Mangosd and realmd. And so just like from yesterday's videos, this is the realm list server and the actual World of Warcraft server. And then you'll see we have run commands for these. So these are bash scripts. I guess these got compiled with the Linux version. Okay, so what is the first thing we're going to do? The first thing we're going to do is make a backup of what we just did. And in this case, I want everything. So I want the source code, I want the classic database, I want the binaries, and I want the steps that actually took to build it, just in case we ever need to debug anything. So let's do a high compression of the we're not going to encrypt that. Of the cmangos directory. Let's just call this cmangos.zip. The DT stands for deuterium. And let's do it. Okay. We forgot to actually specify the directory, so here we go. This is probably not going to take too long because the server's pretty good with zipping. This big object right here is in the Git repository. Yeah, you could see these do run well. This is a pretty nice server. Wow, yep. Okay, so let's sign into this. That's not what we want to sign into. We want to get into deuterium. Okay. Get into the home directory. Here is our... Well, we actually need to get in with the root account, so that's going to be interesting. Yeah, that's okay. We will, actually what we will do is, let's exit, get into the root account. Don't need those passphrases. And then we will copy copy cmangos deuterium git. But this, okay. So now let's actually go back to our directory, temp, and then let's download this. So let's put this not under releases, let's put this under Unix, and then build. Let's make a new directory. Let's call this, that other one is not even named correctly. And here we go, we got pretty good download speeds here. So this is downloading from one server actually to a network location. So this is actually not going to my desktop at all. Okay. So now we can actually remove this file. Yeah. Alright. Back into cmangos. That's okay. So now we need to address the fact that we have a MariaDB server that's already running. So this is the SQL server that we're going to need to build. So this is something I set up a couple weeks ago just to test certain things. So what we really want to do is, within bin, I would like to, first I need to make the SQL scripts directories. We want to have a copy of our SQL scripts. In fact, we have these in Mangosd. Yep, SQL. So let's copy SQL. Let's go out one, in run, bin, SQL. I have to force this. I need it to be recursive. Okay. So what we really want is a server directory, just like we had in the Windows copy that I was working on yesterday. And I want this to be contained with the actual MySQL client binaries. I want the server binaries in here, and then I want all the relevant configuration stuff referenced in here, but actually to keep things consistent, I will be placing configuration stuff in here. Okay, so here what I've done is I actually grabbed the package manually, so that I think we could unpackage this into something that's totally portable. So let's throw this into my transfers directory. Sorry if you heard that. Let's exit here so that we're back on sub, which is the main administrator account. Just go into transfers, and there it is. Let's copy. Yep, now let's put this in. We're going to need to sudo here. It may prompt me for credentials. We're going to throw this in home. Call this cmangos, and we want to dump this, I guess, just right here. Okay. Let's get back into cmangos. Okay. So let's make a downloads directory. Probably don't want to type that. Okay. That way we could keep things clean when we actually do backups. And then we want to unpack this and see what we're working with. See if we could get ourselves a nice, clean, portable server and client combination. Okay, so instead of building a portable SQL server within the Mangosd directory, let's get into the root account. Let's just use the install location that ships when you install MySQL with apt. Okay, so let's get back into actually where we need to go is the classic DB. Okay, now we're going to install the database. So I was already checking. Okay, so here's what the directory looks like when you first clone the database. Okay, first let's create a account here. Okay, so some progress here. Change the IP that I want to connect to the actual IP of this computer. So I don't know why localhost was not connectable, because I can connect over localhost. Once again, we are going to delete these. Mangos, let's specify the IP that we're connecting from. Okay, so now this should work fully. Yep. So, option A. Now, this shouldn't give us any issues with being root. Okay. Let's exit out entirely. Let us go into let's just delete this out here so that it doesn't think we're configured whatsoever. It's Mangos and Mangos. Okay, well we connected right away, so that's at least a good sign. Okay, here we go. Now we're actually building the database. Don't know how long this will take. We can open our graphical interface here. Sorry if that hurts the eyes. We can hit refresh and we can see that it is building some of the databases. In fact, this one is already 333 megabytes. Pretty interesting. And this is going. So one thing we need to are the maps. Not sure where it's going to want the maps downloaded to. So for now, let's exit out of here. Let's go to the cmangos directory. Actually, we don't want to be in Mangos, we want to be in run. Because this is where everything is actually installed. The binaries, let's make maps. Let's call this extracted maps, and this is where we're going to place all our map data that we would have extracted if we didn't already have them. And we need to copy or unpack the files that I transferred over earlier. Okay, so let's get these maps extracted. And we'll do our last bit of configuration, and then we'll be finished. It needs to be in the binary folder. Okay. So we are ready to test now. So now we're in our configuration directory. We took a look at the realmless config, changed the connection IP to the IP that we're going to be hosting from and connecting to, because localhost we're not going to bother. Plus we're hosting in our local network anyways, so on IPv4 is fine. And we had to do the same for Mangos. And we also need to change the data directory to maps extracted. That is where we extracted our maps. Let's actually, yeah, that's correct. So back to the binary and let's launch the realmless. So this actually worked. Okay, looking good. We're hosting Farstriders and Mangos. Farstriders is going to be the server that we can connect to anywhere from our internal network. Now here, let's host Mangosd and see what we're working with. Let's see if this launches. Okay, so far so good. And that did work. So let's create an account. get into WoW and log in, see if this works, and if so, then we have a fully built World of Warcraft Classic. Okay, and that did authenticate perfectly. Voice triggers works, and we can create an account. Perfect. Now again, we are connecting from a different computer than we are hosting from. We're going to get a couple add-on errors. This has nothing to do with the server. These are client-side errors. And this looks like I whispered myself for some reason. Also not sure who this is. Okay, yeah, and so that is a proof of concept that we can run this on a Debian server, pretty bare bones server, and connect anywhere from the internal network. And so it would be trivial to open the server up to the public, for instance. That's what port forwarding is for. Once you can get clients to connect on your internal network, then you have, here I am logged in here, then you have total control over hosting to the public. Probably don't host this for public use, because this is Blizzard's intellectual property. Let's try to shut this server down. I suppose it is coming to a halt here. Yeah, so I hope this was informative, or at least relaxing, or boring.